Okay, my name is Jack+Randall, yeah, but most people call me Jack, my nickname. And I'm a marine biologist, period.
Period. Okay. How long have you been concerned about the state of Hawaii's fishes?
Well, I first came to Hawaii in 1950 and did my first snorkeling in the islands. And over the years, I have seen our fish stocks degrading terribly. I mean, it's so obvious. There's not any fisherman on the island that could deny that this is taking place.
What's the best way, in your opinion, to replenish these diminishing fish stocks?
Well, there are many ways that you can try this, but the very best one is to create what we call marine protected areas, MPAs. And we should have at least 20% of the coastline of Hawaii set aside as no-take areas where fish can grow to maximum size and their eggs and larvae replenish the areas that we're overexploiting.
Okay. If we did have 20% of our linear shoreline set aside as no-take areas in Hawaii, in your opinion, how long would it take before our fish started to noticeably increase?
Well, if we had 20% of our shoreline protected this way, I would say we would, it's difficult to say, but within a couple of years you would notice an increase in population, especially of the smaller species that are still taken by fishermen. But it could take some years, for maybe 10 years, before you would see the large species like our uhu parrotfish and ulua, the jacks, really reaching full size. Well, of course, fishermen are always going to be opposed, at least initially, to marine reserves. It's only natural. If I were a fisherman and suddenly the area that's my favorite fishing place is denied me, and my grandfather has fished there and my father have, and now you're telling me I can't fish there, I'm going to be opposed, and it's only natural. No matter where you're going to choose an area for a marine reserve, somebody's going to be objecting to it. So we have to think in the long term. Some of us have to give and drive a little farther before we can go fishing. Yeah, I can tell you a story that was passed on to me by a colleague of mine in a university in France that I think is well worth mentioning here. He informed me that fishermen have requested that two of the marine reserves established about 15 years ago in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of France be increased in size. What better testimony can you get than the fishermen themselves? But it took 15 years for them to be fully aware of it. What happens in these reserves is that the fish grow to full reproductive maturity, and they also increase their numbers within that small area. And the best fishing is just outside the reserves. And the fishermen suddenly realize this and say, hey, this should be larger. And they themselves ask for this change.